In the current landscape of global politics, especially after US President Donald Trump's recent visit to China, it was anticipated that he would temper his provocative statements on Truth Social to some extent, thereby paving the way for an end to the Iran war. However, unfortunately, no such restraint appears to be materializing. A major reason for this is that the recent war against Iran was not initiated directly by the United States, but by Israel, while the powerful Israeli lobby within the US remains exceptionally influential, preventing Washington from retreating from its hardline stance and the stringent demands it has set as conditions for a permanent ceasefire. This is why, instead of dispersing, the dark clouds of war in the region are felt to be intensifying further. A highly dangerous and sensitive dimension of the Iran war is linked to the Strait of Hormuz, which is regarded as the vital artery of global energy supply. Iran has made it clear that it will soon introduce a new plan for managing maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, under which ship movements on specific routes will be regulated, and fees will also be charged for special services. According to Iranian legislator Ibrahim Azizi, only commercial ships and countries cooperating with Iran will benefit from this facility. Iran's first vice president, Mohammad Raza Arif, has adopted an even more uncompromising position, announcing that military weapons of the enemy will no longer be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. These developments have emerged at a time when US President Donald Trump has warned Iran that if a peace agreement is not reached soon, Tehran will face a very bad time. On the other hand, the US military, while continuing its blockade against Iranian ports, has claimed to have diverted 78 commercial ships and disabled 4 naval vessels, thereby escalating tensions in the region. Another worrying aspect of the Iran war is that some Gulf countries are also seen cooperating with Israel, whether overtly or covertly. The apparent desire of these countries is to weaken Iran to such an extent that it is no longer capable of carrying out missile attacks to restore its military capacity, regional influence, and global standing. However, if Iran responds by closing the Strait of Hormuz or imposing strict restrictions there, the already strained global economy could face further recession, inflation, and an energy crisis. Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf, has stated in a recent address that the world stands at the threshold of a new world order and that the future belongs to the global south, meaning developing countries. This statement not only reflects Iran's rising self assurance, but also reveals that Tehran does not consider itself isolated against global powers, as it enjoys diplomatic or practical support from China, Russia, and several other countries. The core dispute between Iran and the United States continues to revolve around the issue of uranium enrichment. Israel and the US insist that approximately 240 kilograms of enriched uranium in Iran's possession be transferred to the United States, but Iran is categorically unwilling to accept this. Tehran maintains that the peaceful use of nuclear energy and uranium enrichment is its legal and sovereign right. Although indications exist that Iran may agree to transfer this material to Russia or China, it will never hand it over to an openly hostile country like the United States, as the Iranian leadership has repeatedly expressed deep distrust of Washington. The United States has recently left a small diplomatic door open by indicating that the US or China possesses the technical capability to transfer nuclear dust or sensitive nuclear material from Iran. This gesture may signal that room for negotiation still exists instead of inevitable full scale confrontation. In this context, Pakistan's role has become critically significant, as the Interior Minister's recent visit to Tehran, aimed at reviving stalled peace talks between Iran and the United States, according to Iranian media, underscores Pakistan's diplomatic weight in the region. His visit followed shortly after Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir's trip to Iran, clearly signaling that Pakistan not only values its relations with Iran but also intends to sustain its mediation efforts to avert war in the region until the final hour. There is also growing hope that US President Trump and the Iranian leadership may once again sit at the negotiation table in Islamabad before any new military confrontation in order to forge an acceptable path toward a ceasefire or at least meaningful de escalation. However, the primary obstacle remains uranium enrichment, on which neither side appears willing to retreat from its position. On the other hand, Iran has suffered severe human and material losses in this war. According to Iranian claims, around 51,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed in Tehran alone, while across the country this figure is estimated at nearly 100,000. However, some reports place the nationwide number as high as approximately 125,000. Around 3,500 Iranian citizens are reported to have been killed. Donald Trump has also claimed that the US has pushed Iran's development 20 years back. Although this statement can be considered overstated, there is little doubt that Iran's reconstruction could take many years, and restoring pre war conditions may prove to be an extremely challenging task for the Iranian economy. Meanwhile, Israeli operations in the region have extended to Lebanon, where bombardment in southern Lebanon continues, and in recent days, more than 100 locations, including Zutar Sharqiya, have been targeted. Although the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon has been extended by 45 days, ground realities expose its fragility. Overall, the Middle East stands at a precarious crossroads. On one side are global power rivalries, Israeli pressure, Iranian resistance, and Gulf interests, while on the other is a country like Pakistan, which is striving through diplomacy and mediation to prevent a devastating war. If Pakistan's efforts succeed, not only could the region be saved from major destruction, but Pakistan could also consolidate its stature as an influential and credible mediator on the global diplomatic stage.